I have a long day of traveling ahead today, first to Tokyo and then back home. The trip starts here at Kyoto Central Railway Station. The trip from Kyoto to Tokyo takes exactly 2 hours and 15 minutes. For some time now, I have been looking out, trying to recognize anything, but the scenery passes by too quickly. Other than Otsu and Kusatsu, I haven't seen anything I was near. But it turns out the Tokaido Shinkansen takes a wide northerly detour before heading down towards Nagoya. Once we get there, some of the scenery outside becomes more familiar. There is the city itself, and then nearer its southern edge, the shrine, where I ran into a number of miniature geishas and samurai a week ago. Every time I recognize something, or think I do, it triggers memories. There's Chiryu and its horse, and then in quick succession, Okazaki, Akasaka, Goyu, and Toyohashi. A bit further, I recognize Hamana Lake, which reminds me of a kind clockmaker living across a barrier, a boat ride, and a ride to a surfing beach. Then there is the City of Music, and within minutes, Mitsuki and the Tenryu River, which brings back memories of a communist youth brigade in a tea plantation, and a little clown in Kakegawa. In those mountains in the distance, I met people I'll never forget. Ebullient Toshihiro Sugimoto, for instance, and kind and patient Katsumi Hirokuchi, along with many others. We race through Okabe, and I'm reminded of a morning walk along the Old Tokaido, with a group of kids that take care of one another. Then come Shizuoka and Shimizu, and a few minutes onward, the small town of Yui, with its kind police force, followed in turn by Fuji City, where people had fun with paper products. Soon the real Fuji appears, and I think back of Masahiko Fukugawa, who drove me around near here, and all the others who offered rides. There wasn't a great deal of talking during those rides, but my companions communicated nonetheless, through their kindness and generosity. So I feel privileged to have met them, and to have been able to travel the Tokaido the old way. If you travel like a bullet, this is what you're likely to see. You miss out on everything. What takes place in those houses out there, or the many temples that dot the landscape. You miss out on life as it is lived here, or at least the chance to briefly glimpse it. I'll never be part of it, but I truly enjoyed the opportunity to take a look inside schools, factories, parks and pachinko halls, and the places you go when you play too much. Speed has its rewards, like getting to Tokyo precisely on time, but so does a much slower pace. I realize that I'm stating a cliché as large as all the clichés that exist about Japan combined, but it is precisely this one that is needed to dispel the others. There is no shortcut. Getting to know this fascinating country takes time, but it pays you many times over. From Tokyo Station to Nihonbashi is a brief walk. I head back to my starting point because there's one final thing I would like to do prior to leaving. I guess it's a pilgrimage of sorts, something I really need to do. But it is a bit out of town, so you'll have to bear with me. I am making my way to Adachi-ku, a section on the northern fringe of Tokyo. There's a temple there called Todakuchi. It was originally located downtown, but totally destroyed during the Great Kanto earthquake in 1923. Whatever was left of it was moved to Adachi-ku, including its graves. And it is one of those graves I would like to visit on this, the very last part of the trip. In the summer of 1858, there was a severe cholera epidemic in Edo. It claimed one of the city's artists. Hiroshige contracted the disease on the 2nd of September that year and died 4 days later. It gave him just enough time to get his affairs in order and to request burial at Todakuji. And so it was done. Here rests Ando Hiroshige, and I have come to pay my respects. There is a picture of him on the grave. It was customary for publishers to release death pictures of their best artists, and so it was done for Hiroshige as well, leaving us the only image of the man I have been following, but unfortunately never got to know. But there will always be his art and his final work, a death poem, written just before he died. I leave my brush in the east, under a sky for journeying, to see noted sights in the distant west. These turned out to be prophetic words. Shortly after Hiroshige's death, the shogunate fell, and Japan finally opened up to the rest of the world. It allowed his prince to travel west. There, they caused a stir among the great artists of that time. Monet, Manet, Whistler, Degas and Van Gogh eagerly sought out his work. His subtle conveyance of mood and atmosphere inspired them. His bold compositions introduced them to a new way of looking at things. In doing so, they helped shape the development of Western art, inspiring all of us. Meanwhile, it has become time for me to head back west as well. On the long trip back, I reflect on the past few weeks. Somewhere far below, and rapidly receding, lies the Tokaido. I now know I romanticized it too much. Hiroshige's road is long gone, as are most of his views. My mantra of exotic place names turned out to be mostly ordinary towns and villages. But something remains, just as Hiroshige knew. A road is no more than a road. What makes it interesting are the people that live and travel along it. And in them, Hiroshige's Tokaido lives on. Their joy and grief and aspirations were much the same then as they are now. So I guess this old and half-forgotten Tokaido does more than simply connect people. It also connects different times, and in doing so, helps us understand our own.